And we're on YouTube.
Hi, YouTube.
My 9-year-old says I'm going to be famous now.
This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. You are going to be famous, Jen Stout.
I'm JB.
I'm Mike. This list sucks.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Here we are again.
Welcome back. Here we are again. Weird, not the same bat time and not the same bat channel. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it's a Monday, so
I did get a couple complaint text messages as early as Saturday morning at like 8 o'clock. So someone was up and like, what the fuck?
Right? You're like, you asshole.
Let down your fans.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
We fucking ruin people's days
when
we don't get shit out on Friday night.
Yeah, I was telling Mike Riley, who was Mr. Riley Rath, who was a guest a while back.
Shout out Riley.
Yep. He's a mailman. And he was like, dude, I have to drive around for like 12 hours today. What the fuck am I going to do? I don't know. Go back and listen to previous episodes or something.
I know. He has to have favorites by now listening to fucking 12 because we don't have that many hours worth of material.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if he's filling his time with that.
Yeah, he's got to fucking double down in some capacity. At any rate, thanks for tuning in, especially if you're on YouTube. And again, because this is such a weird night and everything. But I mean, listen, you had family in town.
Yeah, it was my fault.
No, it's not your fault at all because Ben Williams was in town. He was so wonderful. He was our guest last week on the show.
Yeah.
And it was a blast, to talk with him and to be able to hang out with him. And so you got to get time in with Pops.
Yeah, it was great. And it wouldn't be like, I know it's your last night here, Dad, but I'm going to be tied up all night long with the podcast. So, I'll see you next time you come to Iowa. So,
hopefully it's soon.
Yeah. And maybe next year.
Where does your dad live?
He lives in California. He lives in
fucking Visalia, Jen Stout.
What? Like Fresno, Visalia, that area?
Visalia.
That's where I'm from too, Jen. So.
Really? But you guys met in Iowa?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
I lived here since I was like 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I lived in Fresno for like 2.5 years, which wasn't the end of the world. Like at that time of my life, it was good. Stay-at-home moms for days, and I didn't have to work, and it was cheap living. But it's really, really fucking hot.
Yeah, it's Fresno.
Really hot. And then I lived in Turlock for 7 months this year, and during the election. During the election.
Wow.
That's all we're gonna have to say about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Turlock's a weird place now. Mm-hmm. I mean, Turlock's always been kind of a weird place, but it's one of those weird pockets of conservatism in the Central Valley.
Is it really?
Yeah. Those fucking dairy farmers, man.
Yeah,
and all those dairy farmers.
There's a lot of those in Visalia too.
I know, but they get pissed off about taxes
and a lot of churches too.
Oh, fuck! That's right.
How did the most per capita in the Guinness Book or something back in the 90s?
Well, yeah, because I don't think that it's like that anymore. But back in the day, like when you and I were going to high school, that was the fucking claim to fame for Turlock.
Monavista Chapel, right? Everyone wanted to go hang out there.
So Turlock was the most churches per capita.
Yes.
And Fresno was the most murders per capita. Isn't that right?
I thought it was Stockton.
I think for a little while, at least for a couple years, it was.
And Oakland for sure.
Yeah.
Like just East Oakland.
Just East
I can see that coming up year after year. Yeah. Is that where you're at now, Jen?
I am actually in Martinez, which is near Walnut Creek, kind of that area, East Bay.
It is East Bay, though. Yeah.
It is East Bay. Yeah. And I'm right on the water. And honestly, I never thought I would live here. I used to visit my grandpa here all the time. My grandpa bought the house I live in. And then my dad grew up here. And then my sister later rented it. And now it's my house, which I just put on 660 square feet. And then I'm like, I just want to remodel the whole thing. So a year and 4 months later, we're almost done.
That's awesome, though, dude. That's a long time for that house to be in your family.
Yeah. And Dexter's in grandpa's bedroom, and they go to the same school as my dad, and it's on our street. So they just walk themselves to school. I'm like, 4th grade and 1st grade, you're on your own. That's fine.
That's wild.
So one of Genevieve's best friends from college lives in Livermore.
Oh yeah.
And that's one really cool thing that I never realized was a thing in the East Bay, but like schools being not just in the neighborhood that the kids attend, but like fuck you close to like
Yeah.
all of these houses. And it's almost one of these deals where when we were over there last time visiting with her friend Burl, we all walked. Her oldest son's name is Otis Fox, and
Nice.
like
What a badass name.
it's a fucking badass name.
Otis
dude.
Fox.
Otis Fox. Otis
He's gonna
Fox
do great
Anderson.
things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so we all walked Odie to school. And it's like the cutest little walk. And all of the kids basically walked to school. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't even realize that was a thing in the Bay Area, but clearly it is. Like, if it's taking place in Martinez and Livermore.
There's not a lot of people that let their kids walk by themselves, I will admit. But it's on the same side of the street, and there's a crossing guard who's already told me that she's reprimanded them for fighting. So I feel like they're pretty taken care of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
But at the same time, you know, if you start letting your kid walk to school by himself in like 2nd or 3rd grade, you're going to wake up one day and he's going to be like, what, Mom? I was born on the streets. I'm hard.
I was raised in that environment.
No, and the cool thing, it starts so early. Like, okay, he's not wearing a bike helmet. He's not doing any of that. He comes out on his first day of real school, and he's wearing head to toe black. He's 9. Okay, so what? Tori's age. He's got on a Puma hat, a Hurley shirt, Adidas track pants, and then his Nikes. And I'm like, take off 3 of those labels because that is trying way too hard.
Pick one and go with it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And then he's like, if I could only ever ride in a Lamborghini, my life would be so much better. You just dropped me off once.
Wow.
And so I pulled out all my certificates from when my dad used to drop me off in the Porsche. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's pretty excited to meet is it a Viper now?
No, I actually have. So I had a Viper and I almost killed Holden in the Viper one day.
Oh dear.
And I was like, Jesus, okay, we can't do this anymore. I'm sorry, everybody.
Say hi to Poster.
Yeah, Poster Nutbag wanted to come up and say hello. So I got rid of the Viper because it was such a death trap. And then, but now I actually have a 911 myself. And my
okay, so I think that's fine. He'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I hope so. But Victoria does the same thing. Like every once in a while, Victoria will be like, Dad, can you pick me up in the little car? And it's like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna pick you up in the little car. Just don't dilly-dally in car line, right? Like get your ass in, get buckled, let's get out of here type of thing. So
right.
But anyway, enough about kids and enough about all that stuff. We do talk about music, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention some of the new music that Rex Todd specifically sent me a text message about.
Ooh, that's new.
Yeah, because Friday there was some pretty good bangers that came out on Friday. Just to name a few. There's a new Garbage record that came out on Friday. There's a new Counting Crows that came on Friday. Mm-hmm. And a new Dropkick Murphys that came out on Friday as well. And kudos to Rex for digging all of that shit out. Oh, and he also threw out Ronnie Millsap. Released a new record. And Rex, I'm just going to say, fuck you. I love you, buddy, but fuck off with your Ronnie Millsap shit. You can keep Ronnie Millsap and Eric Church all to yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, thank God there's not another Eric Church. Because didn't he do like 2 weeks in a row or some shit?
Yeah,
like
dude.
That?
Heart and soul.
Jesus
Can't
Christ.
have one without the other.
Well, that was like the Uno Dos Tres, and we won't talk about that.
Yeah,
we're going to skip over Uno Dos Tres when we get to Green Day for sure.
Yes, please. But at any rate, a lot of good music came out on Friday, and the only one that I got a chance to listen to is I listened to probably the first 4 tracks on Dropkick Murphys, and you know what? It's a Dropkick Murphys record.
Sounds like Dropkick Murphys, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I don't know that those guys go for like wide varieties in sound. You know what I mean?
I'm intrigued by not at all. I'm intrigued by the Garbage thing, though. I didn't even know they were still putting stuff out.
It's different. It's still Shirley, you can tell, but it's different music. It's very different.
Yeah.
There's only 2 songs out, but yeah.
Oh,
it's just like a preview.
Okay, so these are like single previews that dropped from a forthcoming record. Is that what's going on?
And if you add it to your Apple Music, because I'm a
Yeah.
Apple Music girl, then when it's done, it will alert you. But
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I do the same thing. I mean, I'm such a fucking goober because of this podcast that I now have Apple Music and I have Spotify.
nice.
Because some records are easier to find on Spotify.
Got to get the best playlist.
Yeah,
you know?
but I do love me the lyrics that are on Apple Music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking clutch.
Lee Stamper mentioned that like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "What?
Yeah.
Spotify does not do that."
They do not.
I discovered it, and it's like good and bad, because then I realize I've been like super happy bopping around, and they're singing about like a suicide or something really awful.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just not know, or maybe they could just not make it so upbeat, because
Or you realize that the words that you've been singing for like the past 15 years of your life are just fucking not even close. Like it's not even close to what they're actually saying.
And it ruins it for you.
Well, it doesn't ruin it for you. You just feel like a shithead, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, I was at a show and I was shouting that, and
At
they
the
were
top of my
saying
lungs. Yep.
well, I won't tell you how old I was when I finally realized Centerfield, John Fogerty. I always thought it was about a train trip, like the coach section. Not to mention there's like a billion baseball references in the song.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Put me in coach. And I thought I think I mixed it up. I
don't know
think
this
I
song.
mixed it up with the give me a ticket for an aeroplane.
Let's go. Sing it.
Put me in, coach.
Nope,
I'm ready to play. Hey. Centerfield. Are you fucking
enough.
kidding me?
Joe
If I heard
DiMaggio.
the Richard version, maybe I would.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I guess we're just old.
I apologize. Like,
God damn
it
it.
was just you guys were both hitting it from different angles. Jen was clapping over there, and
I seriously can't even. That's a good one. I never would have guessed that you would have been like, oh yeah, this song is definitely about a train.
I was a kid.
Oh,
No. And speaking of the age thing, and I'm sure that JB knows this, but I was a couple years ago, I was dating this guy, and we were in the car, and the song's playing, and he goes, "Wait, did they say brass monkey?" And I'm like, "You're too young for me."
Oh wow!
Too
You were
young
listening
for
to
me.
Beastie Boys, and he didn't pick up Brass Monkey.
Didn't know it.
Yeah,
that's a deal breaker.
that is a huge deal breaker.
Yeah.
A huge deal breaker.
Oh man, this is
What
fun.
is this? Is this new? Some hot beats.
Brass Monkey, is that like White Claw? Interesting.
You put it in a cup.
Mhm.
There you go.
Tilt your head back and finish the cup. All right.
Exactly.
So, with that being said, what do you say? Do you want to jump into this week?
Let's hop in. Yeah. I think you're 1 through 5.
Oh,
You prepared?
I am prepared.
Okay, good.
Thankfully, I am not prepared with. I'm not prepared with the emails for Rex,
I got it.
but that's
I'm
okay
covered.
because you're 135 for Rex,
Exactly.
and so I will prepare myself at some point in time
We're set.
during this next conversation. So this week we're going through 375 through 371. And the first album we're going to talk about this week is number 375, the 1994 release from Green Day, Dookie. Rolling Stone says, the album that jump-started the 90s pump pop revival. The skittish Dookie was recorded in little more than 3 weeks, and singer-guitarist Billy Joe Armstrong blazed through all the vocals in 2 days. Quote, right from getting the drum sound, everything seemed to click, end quote. Their A&R man, the Dookie producer Rob Cavallo, marveled. Indeed, click is the operative word here. Also describing Armstrong's airtight 3-minute bow shots like Welcome to Paradise, Basket Case, and the infectious smash Longview, which Armstrong described as, quote, cheap self-therapy from watching too much TV, end quote. Jen Stout, we brought you on to the show because I knew that you are a massive Green Day fan. So you want to kick this off?
Sure.
Oh,
So I've had this long developing career with Green Day, you could say, from my fandom. So you have to remember, 1994, when they came out, I had just returned from spending a year living in Germany. And all we listened to was music that went ooms, 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 ooms. And very little meaningful lyrics. Okay. So then you come home to this. And like I would still watch MTV Europe, but it was still focused on like European, like Aerosmith made the cut and stuff, Metallica, but Green Day was not going to air there. So I come home to this and it's like totally not what I'm used to. And I made these notes. I'm like, it was loud, it was bold, it was crude, it was irreverent. It's like the opposite of a Boy Scout, right? The opposite of all of their oaths. And that's what they were. And mostly they confused me when they first came out because like they just made me feel really kind of uncomfortable. I was very naive growing up. And then I'm listening to these lyrics and I don't know what's going on. And I don't know if you guys I read the like how they made Longview. And I mean, everyone knows what it's about, right? It's about jerking off and being high, which again, that's what you do in your 20s. That's what you do. And
Hey,
then I learned.
I'm in my 20s.
Seriously? I'm in my 40s. Come on.
I mean, you never really stop, right?
But that's when you first start doing that. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what she's alluding
like
to.
when you have enough time to get bored of it, I guess is my point. How about that? You can lay around and do those things, but you don't end up ever getting bored because everyone's like, Mom, right? so okay. Anyway, so there we go. They confused me, made me feel uncomfortable. And then like the mixing of the pronouns. Remember in the song where it's like he went to the whore and she said my life's a bore. And I'm like, what's happening? Yeah. Like so the whole song confused me.
Transgender prostitute, right? That's how I took that.
Basically, yeah.
But I didn't even know what that was in 1994. Right.
That's
I'm like,
fuck in the mid 90s.
Yeah, kids hearing that these days, that's just like, yeah, that makes sense, But like,
I know.
Even when I was listening to this, which was like 2005, I was probably like puzzling it out,
Yeah,
it's like had to draw like a diagram and connect the dots and be like, wait, it said in this line.
And they were into that. Like they were very mixed and fluid. That's what I read about them. But so like I listen, of course I downloaded it, and I think I've talked about like I write about music sometimes, and a lot of the songs in high school, I'm like, I am not cool enough for this, but I'm going to listen to it and then tell everyone I listen to it. But Green Day, so then I get to college and I was not joining the band. Okay, I'm sure Mike has shared his shameful secret, but we were a high school marching band. We were elementary or junior high marching band. And
you're a fucking nerd.
I'm right there with you.
It was awful. And then in college, I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I'm walking up, like I did not go. And then they'd already gone to their band camp. And then they were like walking up to rehearsal. And I see them walking. And I'm like, hey, they look like they're having so much fun. And then the rest was history. I joined the band.
I was going to say, you fucking joined the band. You were part of the
totally joined the band. And then the first thing, our first show was alternative. So it was Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, and then like Green Day. We played Basket Case. I'm like, wow, like I have arrived.
That's fucking rad.
That is fucking rad.
It was so fun. And then 2 years later, so after a football game, once you're a sophomore, you break off during fourth quarter and then you go play for beers at all the fraternity houses. Sure. And we're on like the 7th or 8th one. And I was like a director assistant. And I get up there, I'm like, Basket Case. And it is so hard to play. Because it's just like such a consistent beat, And yeah, it totally fell apart. But just it was great. It was great. And then the other thing I love about it, do you guys know that the When I Come Around video is just them walking through the BART station at Powell Street?
No, I did not know that was the Powell Street BART station.
Yeah, it's that super long part that smells really bad. Yeah. And they're just walking through BART, and that's where they are. And then what I was going to say, and then, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. And then Welcome to Paradise, which is all about them living in Oakland, like in this super ghetto place, not far where I ended up buying a townhome. And then, but I do, like, I just continue to like follow them, love them. And I still go to like the place that Mike Dern owns, because I just love how they own a restaurant, or it's just him. It's Mike Dern, and he owns this little restaurant, and they support the community. They started a coffee company. They make Oakland coffee, and they're just local guys. Like they just seem cool, and I would buy this again.
They've always stuck around like the Bay Area and the East Bay and everything, and so I've respected the fuck out of that too. Like,
Yeah,
they
that's
stayed
super
true to their
cool. I
roots.
guess I didn't know that as much. But what kind of food is Mike Dirt's restaurant?
Oh, it's so great. It's just home cooking. Like you can literally see that they just grated that cheese, like super thick grating, and they do the country fried steak one night, or they'll do a super big, egg omelet thing. And then they have a 9 to 1 a.m. happy hour.
I knew Mike was cool.
Yeah. Oh, and they make a milkshake with stout, and they make a Guinness milkshake. And they bring Cheerios for the kids. So it's just a super fun place. So
I love this record to death. Like this is like my first punk record, right?
It just makes you feel good.
Yeah. No, I mean, seriously though, like I never listened to punk before this, and this opened the door to, I mean, I love NoFX because of Green Day.
Yeah.
Like those two bands, and NoFX fans would be pissed to hear me say that, to listen to me say that they're cut from the same cloth. But I really do. Like, I think NoFX is probably a little bit more technically proficient, if you will.
I agree with you though, and I think NoFX fans would be more pissed than Green Day fans would be. But
no, absolutely,
I don't disagree with you at all.
But this totally opened that door, right? It opened the door for Blink-182 because Blink-182 falls into this exact same.
Yeah, there's a whole wealth of bands. Some 41, like the
Harvey Danger, that was like a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. No, but they're all fucking wonderful. And if Dookie doesn't come out, I don't think that I ever give any of those bands any of my time. Right.
Yeah.
Dookie doesn't happen.
Yeah, that sucked you in for sure.
Yeah. And I also remember when this album, like probably after Basket Case really broke, or maybe it was after When I Come Around really broke. Do you guys remember? And you don't, JP, because you would have been like 3. But fucking MTV Live telecasted a Green Day show. And I want to say it was from somewhere in the Bay Area.
Like maybe at Gilman Street or something like that, or maybe in the city.
Possibly. I don't remember. I don't remember what the venue was, but I remember they played it live on MTV, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Because
that's awesome.
The crowd was hype as shit, like, and the band was really, really tight. And I just remember thinking to myself, "Fuck, it'd be so much fun. It'd be so much fun to go to that show."
Have you seen them live?
I have still not ever seen Green Day live.
Wow, dude. How about you, Jan? Have you seen them?
Oh yeah. I started, again, it was a very late development of this whole thing. Of course I listened to them throughout the years, and what was I going? Oh, that famous one, it's something unpredictable, but then in the end, that one, Time of Your Life, totally overplayed. Not actually. Yeah, I'm not a big fan, and then they came out the musical. I don't know if you've even heard about it, but they took their American Idiot album and they turned it into a musical, and they debuted it at the Berkeley Rep in Berkeley, where they totally wrote and lived and did all of their development. And I went, and you take that music, and they're on stage dancing and singing, and it's punk and it's political and it's crazy. And then I saw it again. And then with them, I saw them in a stadium first, not a stadium, just an amphitheater first. And then to the Greek Theater in Berkeley, Mike. I saw them at the Greek.
The Greek is amazing.
They'd never played there.
Great venue.
Yeah. I've not been to the Greek.
Yeah, and then down to a teeny tiny one in Berkeley, and then we're going in July to a stadium. So we'll see.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I've had the good fortune to see them a couple times.
You have
both in Des Moines, Iowa, and both at the same venue, actually, Wells Fargo Arena, for those who live in Des Moines.
It was huge.
So I saw them on the
20,000. I think it's like 20,000, right? 25,000
at the very most. It might even be less than that. It might be closer to 15. Yeah, I think. But the first time was on the American Idiot tour, and it was fucking awesome. I mean, I was like 14 years old, and I was obsessed with them at the time. I was probably in 8th grade, and that was when Blink-182 was really big, and Green Day was kind of a little bit past really at that time. Yeah. But
they're doing different kind of stuff. It's a rock opera. It's not punk, I don't think.
Yeah, with American Idiot, you mean?
American Idiot.
Yeah, big time for sure. I loved it though. I mean, Billy Joe, he's just one of those guys that like just has such command of the crowd that he can really get them to do anything he wants. And like
they never leave stage. They never leave the stage for 3 or for 2 hours. It's crazy.
I just remember on the American Idiot tour, he was doing that thing that so many like singers do where he starts going like, hey, oh, and he gets like the crowd to respond to that. But then he started getting increasingly more sexual with it. And eventually he just like had his microphone, he set his guitar down, and he literally had his hand down the front of his pants. And
God.
And the whole crowd was like doing it right back to him. and I was just thinking like, these people will fucking do anything he wants them to. Yeah. Like anything, you know?
Did they start the show with Bohemian Rhapsody? Because they do that to hype you up, and 1,200 people singing it completely in tune. It's kind of amazing.
No, I don't remember if they did that, but I know that they closed with "We Are the Champions."
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah, they didn't do that for mine. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's a baller ass move right there. Big time baller move. Yeah. Mike Dirnt might be one of my favorite bass players too, because he like, and it's not because he's an amazing bass player, but I love his bass lines, and they really stand out on this, especially when you think about Longview. I fucking love the bass line in Longview.
Good.
It's know the story?
No, I have no clue what the backstory is.
Apparently, the first show they ever played was in Longview, Oregon, and they were just, he was on acid, hanging out, dun, 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 and he's like, dude, you're gonna love this, and suddenly it's Longview.
That's beautiful.
Wow,
I love that.
And that's the song they pull people on stage to sing.
Yeah, everyone knows the words to that.
Well, and everybody knows the words to Basket Case, and everybody knows the words to When I Come Around. I mean, listen, this album rips across the board. I love Welcome to Paradise. I love Basket Case. I love, like, how many punk bands do you get almost a jam-like transition the way that you get from Chump into Longview?
Yeah, and I mean
that's literally like the jam nomenclature, right?
And where speaking of
like
that,
the carrot.
So one thing I wrote down on that section, you're gonna get a kick out of this. I was like, I love the drum and bass breakdown from Trey and Mike, and I was like, usually when Mike and I talk about Trey and Mike, we're not talking about Green Day.
No, not at all. We're normally talking about Fish.
But it's so funny, just same names.
Absolutely.
And can we talk for a second about how there used to be a hidden track back in the day as CDs, and now there's not, depending on how you listen to it, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Just in general.
Bad. I remember that was like such a huge deal because you're like, oh, it's over, skip.
Yeah, no, that was a 90s thing. Either the hidden track that doesn't appear or like the blank tracks that spool up to some crazy number, like Tool, Undertow, like Disgustipated was technically track 69. Yeah, it would spool all the way up.
A bunch of 1 second tracks or something before
exactly.
That. Yeah,
but this one is all by myself, and it's funny because they listen.
It's Trey. It's Trey singing.
Yeah,
and the other guys are like laughing in the background.
Yes. But I do love that. And actually, one of my favorite songs, I actually put 3 stars next to FOD because that fucking song is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it starts out
screaming in the car.
What was that?
I was like yelling that in the car because I had a bad week last week. And I was like,
yeah, that's the jam, right? And that's like, I love the build on that. Like, I love how it does start off acoustic, and then by the time that you get to the end of it, you're just like, yeah, just fuck off, like fuck off and die.
It's
totally.
Okay, so now, so I already had this on digital. I'm assuming that you did too.
Yeah, I mean, it's one I've been listening to for years. And I haven't revisited it in probably 5-6 years, like at all. So it was really fun to go back to.
Yeah. Same with me. Probably a lot longer than 5 or 6 years for me. I mean, it's probably been over a decade since I sat down and put this disc on. So it was a lot of fun to go back to. Would you look for this on vinyl?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, even just for the collection. I'm not gonna like jump out and try to seek it out or anything, but if I saw it, I'd buy it for sure.
If it popped up. I'd probably do the same.
Yeah.
Because I really do love this. Like, she fucking, come on. Like, she is so good. Like, that
So
to me
good.
is kind of a sleeper track on this
I agree.
record.
I gave that one 5 stars. Honestly, there
They
were like
still
3
play that
songs that I
one.
gave 5 stars.
They
Yeah.
still, do you say they still play She a lot in their live act?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, obviously, most of us don't listen to albums in album format anymore. We haven't in years. But I know, and I miss it. Like, and sometimes I'll get a wild hair and I'll do it. I will. But this one, like, they play almost every show I've been to. They played Longview. They played Basket Case. They played She in more than one of them. They played even like God, it was like one of the first ones. They were playing a show in Berkeley, and they were just so blown away that they wrote everything there. So they had a bunch of Berkeley songs, like God, I can't remember now, of course, but and then the album cover is so good.
Yeah, it is. The cover art on that album is really good. That alone might make it worth having the vinyl, just so that way you can see like a version of the cover art.
It's like Where's Waldo, pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. But no, this one's good, but I haven't listened to the whole thing at once in a while, and so thank you for having me do that.
Absolutely, thanks for doing it.
Well, and for the record, I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree. Like most musical consumption these days happens in, it's almost like a throwback to the 50s, right? With 45s, because that's really how I think most people consume music.
Oh yeah.
I am such an asshole when it comes to that like Lee Stamper and I have had multiple conversations about this, where Lee doesn't even necessarily like taking road trips with me, because if I put on a record, like, I'm going to listen to the whole record. And if people start skipping around on records, it really that's like, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard to me when people are like, oh, like, let's just skip forward to track 5. I'm like, no, how about we don't? And if you don't like the first 4 tracks on this record, maybe we shouldn't fucking listen to this record.
Maybe this record sucks.
Maybe this record sucks and you just need to find something better to listen to.
Just because you like one song on it doesn't mean...
Well, what about the day I was a big mixtape junkie? I think it was just too cheap to ever buy anything. And so I would make all these mix CDs or mix tapes. And now I'm like, well, why isn't, like, I had this one, this is my early days, why I put Lori Morgan, Except for Monday, followed by Unbelievable by EMF's a terrible transition.
Yeah, that's
but like, it has to come next now. You know what I mean? Like, and then the album, same thing. Like, if you're used to, like, American Idiot, they flow together. You really cannot and should not break that up. But
especially with a concept album like American Idiot, like, you really shouldn't fuck with a concept album.
And even when I saw them live on that tour, they played a good portion of that in a row. Like, not all of it, but a lot of it. They played in a row.
Well, and Jen, to be fair, listen, mixtapes, I get it. Because I made mixtapes, when I was younger too. And there is a certain beauty to that. And to that effect, I do playlists, right? Like, I will make
it's the same idea.
Yeah, but I've really come around to this, like, call it what you will, but I view music as an art. Like, it's very much an art to me. And if I go to an art museum, I don't ever look at like the bottom corner of a fucking Picasso. And that's kind of the way that I view chopping up records, right? Because if a musician is an artist, which I believe that they are, record is that's their work of art, you know? And it can be a work of art that I don't particularly appreciate or enjoy. And that's fine. I just won't listen to it as much. But if there's 3 or 4 pieces of that I love and that I enjoy, I'm going to try and look at the entire piece. I'm not just going to look at the sections that are most appealing to me, if that makes sense. If the analogy holds true,
Well, it does. And then you're going to get this. And I'm going to admit it was probably New Kids on the Block, but I was like so loyal to the artist and the cassette that I'd have to listen to the whole thing. And I would not fast forward ever, because I feel like, well, A, it was a pain in the ass to fast forward, but B,
fast forwarding sucked.
Yeah, but it was like I felt guilty, like that I wasn't appreciating their art. And so I totally get where you're coming from.
Amen. Should we move on?
Let's do it.
All right. That's on you.
374. Robert Johnson, king of the Delta blues singers from 1961. You want to know how real the blues can get? Quote from Keith Richards. Well, this is it. The blues man in question was Robert Johnson, who lived from 1911 to 1938 in the Mississippi Delta, and whose guitar prowess was so great it inspired stories he had sold his soul to the devil. This 1961 reissue of Johnson's original 78s was a life changer for 60s rockers like Richards and Eric Clapton. The moaning lust of Terraplane Blues and the haunted desperation of Hellhound on My Trail haven't aged a minute.
Okay.
Had you spent any time listening to Robert Johnson before this?
Yeah, I have. I'm not. Listen, I haven't listened to a ton of Robert Johnson, but we've talked before in the past about Charlie Shivers. Like really near and dear friend. He was a guitar player. He was a singer. He passed away, and going on like, I don't know, going on 4 or 5 years ago now. Literally one of the greatest people that I ever met. He actually had a tattoo of Robert Johnson on his leg because he loved Robert Johnson so much.
Wow.
He was really into the blues, was really into Robert Johnson. And so I tried multiple times with Robert Johnson because I knew like how big of an influence he was for my friend Charlie. And on listening to this, I get it, but it's really hard if for no other reason just because of, most of these recordings were done, I believe, in 1937 and 1938. The sound quality is not the greatest, and I wish that I could have seen him, right? Because he sounds like a guy that if you were there and if you could have seen him, it probably would have been more impactful. But at the same time, I'll say this, like there are so many riffs on this record that I heard and I was like, oh shit, that's from this song, or that's from this song, or that's from this song. And so I kind of get why all these quotes from Keith Richards and Eric Clapton, are giving Robert Johnson such high praise. But it's not the easiest thing for me to listen to.
Riffs and lyrics, there are so many. Yeah, I mean, did you pick up on lyrics that were, and I'm going to get back to what you said, but Traveling Riverside Blues. Did you write anything down?
No, I didn't write anything down lyrics wise.
Okay.
I didn't.
Well, that's where the Lemon song came from. The Led Zeppelin.
Like the Zeppelin song?
Yeah. The lyrics, he sings that over and over again. Squeeze my lemon until the juice runs down my leg. It's all in, it's in Traveling Riverside Blues. And then he reprises that lyric again. And I think in Hellhound on My Trail or one of the later ones. But yeah. There's that, and then there's If I Have Possession Over Judgment Day. I mean, there's a lot of these tunes that were covered, just endless amounts of times. And there was the reason there's another lyric that I'm trying to find that I wrote down, but Last Fair Deal Gone Down. That's a Jerry Garcia song. That's the chorus of the song Loser. Last Fair Deal Gone Down. I mean, it's the same exact thing. So, like you said, riffs. There's endless riffs that are birthed from this. Kind of music.
And the riffs to me, like there were at least 4 or 5 riffs that I recognized. But again, even that, like, do you find yourself working to hear that?
I had kind of a mic experience where I just didn't love it. I kind of and I didn't have a lot of time to just sit and listen. I mostly had it on background, but it's just the style and I don't know. And so I wasn't listening to the lyrics, and now I feel like I should probably go back and listen, but I was mostly just wanting it to be over. I'm going to be real.
Well, that's fair. I mean, music has certainly come a long way since this guy, but I mean, in my opinion,
sitting in the bayou, right? Like, can you imagine like sitting in the bayou and you got your beer and the moss? I don't know. I think that would be cool. Right?
Yeah.
And again, it wasn't, it's not unenjoyable for me, right? Because again, this isn't the first time that I've done Robert Johnson. So I knew what I was getting into whenever I started listening to it, wasn't unfamiliar to me either, because the record that I had listened to, and I probably listened to it twice, was the complete recordings of Robert Johnson.
Which I think a lot of these are from that one, right?
Yes.
Like obviously everyone, because that record is every recording. Like there's 33 only, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so
That's it? That's all he made was 33 songs?
Well, there's like only 33 recordings that can be found.
That can be found of him.
He's like pretty elusive and mysterious. In fact, they were like putting together a concert in like late 1940s or something. I was reading, I should have written down some more details about this, but someone found this music because he didn't get discovered until way after he died.
Way after he died.
And people were like, who's this guy? This guy is incredible. We need to get him for this concert we're putting together.
Yeah.
And
so who recorded all this stuff?
Well, he recorded it, right? And I don't know if he had all of the money himself to record it, but there were basically two songs.
Yeah.
Like he recorded some of this in, I want to say, the spring of 1937, and then he recorded the rest of it in like a year later in the spring of 1938 in two different studios. And so when all these recordings were discovered, though, then everybody tried to go back and figure out, who is this guy? Where did he come from? And that's when you start to get into this really kind of wacky mythology, because there's not a lot of good records about him in general, and it's mostly just anecdotal stuff. And a lot of the anecdotes, that's where you get into this, did he make a deal with the devil because he was...
And where did this Mississippi guy get any access to do any of this in the third? You know what I mean? He was 27 when he died.
He probably just went to like a little store, like a little record, like
a record company.
Yeah, and they just kind of recorded him on the spot.
Like what state? You know what I mean? Like it was a different place back then. I wish now I want to go learn all about him.
Yeah, and since you mentioned
volumes written about him, actually.
Since you mentioned that he's 27, we should be remiss not to talk about 27 Club.
The 27
He's
Club.
like considered the original, or one of. They've since like added way earlier people to it, but he was like kind of the spawn of the 27 Club.
Yeah.
And we have another one tonight.
Yeah, we do have another one tonight. Yep.
Wow.
She's coming up.
Oh fuck! Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I literally thought that you guys were talking about a 27-year-old that fucking died tonight, and I was like, wait, who the fuck? What are you talking about?
The 27 Club tonight.
Yeah, and actually,
man,
table that.
But yeah, you were talking about the mythology. There's this whole story about him, because he just kind of disappeared for a year. Like there's this whole story about him, and he was pretty mediocre. He disappears for a year. He comes back. He's the best guitar player anyone's seen in Mississippi.
Exactly.
And that's where the kind of stories came up. The whole Faustian myth thing about him selling his soul to the devil. Yeah. That's what the Crossroads song is about. Out of the Crossroads, and yeah, he sold his soul to the devil in exchange for his guitar prowess.
For his guitar prowess.
The myth. He recorded in San Antonio. FYI.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, but that was one, right?
Unknown causes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one knows what happened to him.
Nobody knows what happened to him. Right. I mean, honestly, the idea that we know exactly how old he was whenever he died is kind of a fucking joke in and of itself, because it's not like records were all that fantastic back in 1911 or 1938 for that matter.
But that kind of messes up the 27 Club thing, dude.
So I know. So we're not going to go there. Yeah. We'll just table that again. But tell me, okay, so I get where you're coming from. Are you okay with me being shitty about just the nature of these recordings in general?
Well, given your stance on lo-fi. No, I know you do. But they're certainly not great recordings. And, like I said, music has definitely come a long way. Like there's a lot more that has been done in the genre of blues, in the, 70 years since this came out. And I do like the music. Okay. I will say that, but this is one of those records and one of those, yeah. But, like the argument that I've talked about a lot is the style, or is the content versus impact thing. And just purely based on impact, it's impossible to overstate, the impact that this has had on music in general.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think oh shit. Man, we have to revisit where Dookie falls on the list. So
yeah, I was going to say we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, let's put a
all.
pin in that because we got to circle back around to that, especially given the nature of where this conversation is heading.
Yeah.
So, listen, I want to see this on the list because of historical reasons. I can be shitty about some of the guitar work that he does as being like some of it is repetitive to me, right? Like his style is unique and his style carries forward again and again throughout all of his songs. I don't hate it though. Like, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it relative to what he was doing. It's just like, I thought the same thing about Howlin' Wolf though, you know,
Yeah.
and all of these like
And Muddy Waters.
All these old school blues men, they're blues men.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
all blues songs have the same structure. They begin to feel similar in nature after you're listening to 15 or 18 of these songs.
Yes.
See, a little less, just a little less, right?
Yeah, but I mean, listen, it's a knock that I think is easy to lay on older music from a modern perspective.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I understand that I'm biased because of that modern perspective, but
I don't hate you for that at all. And I think we've both made it clear that neither you or me are like the biggest blues fans, you know, in general.
I mean, I dig them. It's fun.
Yeah.
But it's not my go-to.
Yeah. And one thing that I wrote down was, to me, when you're listening to all these songs together, eventually they're not even like separate songs. It's just like a living, breathing entity, you know, that is all like, it takes on various forms and shapes throughout, but it's all just the blues.
Yeah.
You know?
So is there a difference with soul and blues?
Yeah. Huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Soul has a different level of complexity to it that the blues don't necessarily have. And I think that boils more down to song structure, right? Because you can get all types of varieties of soul music.
Yeah.
That song structure.
Can you have elements of the blues in soul? I think so,
yes.
right?
I think you can absolutely have elements of soul. And I think that you can have elements of soul and blues, you know, but I think that soul kind of was birthed from the blues or after, you know, as from a combination of the blues and other various, you know, components.
The blues is kind of like jazz, right?
Yeah.
In that it's a
little more structure.
Well, listen, and even when jazz first started out, right? Jazz didn't completely lose its structure, I would argue, until the late 50s through like the late 60s. That's when jazz really just started to explore all types of wild improvisational tropes, you know. So up until that point in time, jazz had a very, not a rigid structure, but it was a structured music, and blues is the epitome of structure, you know, because most blues songs follow
almost all the same chord progression.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
And like, you know, there's 3 chords basically in every single blues song. And it's like a rule that they all kind of follow this 12-bar blues pattern.
That's right.
You know, and that's kind of where it gets a little boring because they're all exactly the same. Like every song, you just basically put different lyrics to it. And someone who really hates or really loves the blues is going to shit all over me for what I'm saying right now. but I mean, it's all the same. It's with different flavors, you know?
Yeah, it's different flavors using different chords. But at the end of the day, like it's the same structure. And you get that here, right? Which is why, you know, I used the word repetition earlier. And I mean, it's the same thing.
Well, can I real quick 2 seconds go back to the Green Day? So if you have not seen Pachelbel's rant on YouTube, all you listeners Google immediately Pachelbel's rant, and it's talking about chord progression, and it's that dun dun. It's the same 4 chords. Do you have the time to listen? It's like the same 4, and no matter what, like music can only be so creative, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can only put the same 12 notes in so many different combinations.
Exactly.
That's one of my favorite lines from any movie of all time is the most recent iteration of A Star Is Born with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
There's this really wonderful line at the end of that after Bradley Cooper's character has died, that Sam Elliott is talking to Lady Gaga's character, and he says something to the effect of like, there's only 12 notes in music, but he loved the way that you put together those 12 notes. He loved the way that you put together those 12 notes more than anybody else on the planet, basically.
Yeah.
But it's not how much you have is what you do with it.
Yeah, basically. Okay, but let's talk about where does this album belong on the list? Because now we're talking about content versus impact. This is clearly an impact record.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about this one, and then let's go back and address that same question with Green Day.
Absolutely. So on this, we're coming in. What the hell are we at? 374?
Yeah.
So we're coming in at 374. Hugely influential, probably one of the most influential artists of all time when you think about modern rock and roll. So, when it comes down to it, I'm not the biggest fan of the content, but from a historical standpoint, I get it being here, and I'm okay with it. If it fell by 25 spots and it was closer to 400, I would probably be a little bit happier just to move up some of those names that are closer to that 400 spot.
Sure.
Give them a little bit more love, but still, leave Robert Johnson on here and still recognize what he did for music. What do you think? I mean, you're a guitar player, for God's sakes.
So I would argue that maybe he is the most influential artist that we've had so far on the list at this point. And maybe that we will have. Like, we'll just have to see what else comes up. If you're asking me, I'd move it up 50 to 100 slots.
Wow.
From where it is now.
That's fair.
And again, it's not even because of the content. It's because of the impact. I like the content, but it's not my favorite thing ever. But just purely based on the impact of it, that's where I would probably put it.
See, I mean, content-wise, I would prefer Howlin' Wolf.
I probably would too. Yeah,
I loved Howlin' Wolf from a content standpoint, but I understand where you're coming from, and I agree. I guess I would rather see content rewarded first before historical relevance.
I get that too.
For me.
What do you think, Jen?
What do you think, Jen?
I haven't rated anything else yet, but I would probably put it a little lower. However, I can say that I'm now inspired to learn a little more about him.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, now let's circle back around to the same question on Green Day. Where do you think that it's at an appropriate place on the list? Would you move it up? Do you move it down? Or do you like where it's at in the pantheon of the we're talking about the greatest 500 albums of all time.
Right.
So Jen, start with you. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's probably good where it is. It's not their best album either. It's groundbreaking, to your point. It's groundbreaking punk. It really kicked off punk, and I think it's okay there.
I'm with you. I think it's in a good spot.
I do too. I do too, actually. I mean, I love the fact that to me, this really birthed pop punk.
Yeah.
Because I don't think pop punk really existed.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that. Like,
right.
Who could you argue?
Black Flag was definitely pop.
Pop punk, totally.
And Rancid was the other side. There was that whole thing, right? Billy Joe and the other Armstrong. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
And then they split, right? And at one point they were toying the idea, and Rancid went a totally Dropkick Murphys style, in my opinion, where it's very like the same over and over.
That's funny. Do you think do we get Rancid? We don't get Rancid on this list, right?
I would have thought we would have seen it by now.
Really?
If you well, no, I mean, like, yeah, I don't think we will get it because I think that we probably would have seen it by now.
We would have seen it if it was going to be on the list. We would have seen it already.
Yeah,
because what you're saying.
If you said at the beginning before we even started, you said we were going to see Rancid, I would have believed it, but I would have expected it to be in the bottom 100.
Yeah, he's just so yelly. Like his voice sounds like it always must hurt.
You know what's crazy though is that we did see, like, speaking of yelly, like we saw Husker Du, and we saw Black Flag.
80s?
And Husker Du was like 82 or 83 on New Day Rising.
Yeah.
And then we also saw Damage from Black Flag. And it's weird to think that Out Come the Wolves doesn't replace one of those. Does that make sense?
That's the Rancid album, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one with Maxwell Murder?
I
don't know.
You would
The only reason I know that was their dad's favorite song. It was his "Step Up to Bat" in softball song. It's just a bunch of yelling.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know that I would replace it. What I can say is that I can say very definitively that I would replace Black Flag with a fuck ton of albums. And I know that you loved Black Flag.
I did love that one.
You loved it a lot.
I'm surprised that you say that because I would have thought you would have said that you would have replaced Husker Du with any number of albums.
I would have replaced them both.
Just both of them? Yeah.
I mean, literally pick any snub that we've already done, including that really early Flaming Lips album. Yeah, I would have replaced Yeah, I would have replaced either one of them. But especially like Soft Bullets and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. Fucking any Tool album, I would absolutely replace either one of those with any Tool album.
I loved Black Flag though.
So I know you did. I know you did. You fucking
still love that one,
bastard. All right.
Can I throw out one Oakland reference before we move on?
Yeah.
Do it.
You guys might have heard about him. Have you heard of the Fabulous Negrito?
No,
I have not.
He's local Oakland, and he does like soul and blues, and I can't explain it, but it is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous Negrito. He's Oakland native. Check.
All right. On to the
Moving
list.
on.
Okay, so yes, let's do move on, because I think that we're all in line with Green Day being okay where it's at.
Yeah.
And then Robert Johnson we can debate. But
let's read Rex's thoughts real quick.
Oh fuck, thank you. Yeah.
I'll read Green Day, you read Robert Johnson.
Go.
Okay, so here's Rex Todd on Dookie. Ah, yes, the music of my teenage years. This album came onto the scene at the perfect time. A shot in the arm that music needed, pop punk at its finest. In parentheses, I don't want to call it pop punk, but it's too late, and I don't know what else to call it. I've probably listened to this album 1,000 times in my life. This album is just good memories. The wonderful wind down from the track Chump that leads into Longview.
Amen, brother.
The bass work on this album just made me want to become a bassist. Catchy 3-note chords that are just head bobbing, and you'll catch yourself remembering lyrics that you probably haven't sang in 27 goddamn years. Jesus Christ, I just bummed myself out. Add this album and get the vinyl. Apparently, I need to go take some Lipitor. Fuck, I feel it now.
Oh, Rexy baby. All right, so after that, Rex talked about Robert Johnson, king of the Delta Blues singers. He says, the legendary Delta Blues singer, songwriter, and performer that made the deal with the devil. I tried that once, and all I got was a pen. Trust me when I say that I've been dead inside for a while.
Rex.
It's not so bad when you can't feel anything. It's kind of fun. Anywho, impossible to think that the world has only 27 or 29 known recordings from this man, and it's an absolute shame. The guitar work is incendiary at times. This record is just a time capsule of Delta Blues. Amazing album, and I don't throw that word out too often. So Rex loved it. Rex loved it, and I love that too.
Yeah.
All right. We won't forget you, Rex, for the rest of the show. But I do, listen, I want to jump into this because we've already spent so much time. Thank you, Jen, for dedicating so much time to this. Let's talk 373 from 1969. Hot Buttered Soul from Isaac Hayes. Rolling Stone says Isaac Hayes demanded Stax Records give him complete artistic control for his second album. What happened next sounded like nothing else in music at the time, an orchestral soul watershed that foreshadowed R&B's turn towards symphonic excess and plush introspect. Hayes' 12-minute southern psychedelic version of the Burt Bacharach Hal David Walk On By, and his spectacularly tortured 18-minute take on Jimmy Webb's By the Time I Get to Phoenix to easy listening tunes and refashion them in his own radically laid-back image. This is a record that I don't even remember when I got turned on to this. It probably would have been in either the late 90s or early 2000s. I don't even remember who told me to listen to this record, but I remember the first time I heard it and I was just so blown away. And this was a record that I was balls deep into this record for so long, and then it kind of disappeared from my musical lexicon. And so when it came back up on the list, like, this was like, it was like putting on a pair of sweatpants that are like your favorite sweatpants on the planet, but you fucking lost them, and then you rediscover them, and they're every bit as comfortable as they ever were.
I feel like I saw this happen too, because I think I was with you when we were reading through the list, and you were like, Isaac Hayes Hot Butter Soul, and you were like,
oh man,
I saw your eyes light up.
Yes, dude. I love this record.
Yes.
So I had a hunch, maybe, because you said late 90s, and that was kind of like I had downloaded a bunch of stuff like Isaac Hayes, and it was in a movie. I think there was a movie that had a really great soundtrack, and I feel like that's where I learned that song, the Walk On By song. It was in this movie.
Possibly. I would love to see if a movie took that song, because that song, I mean,
it has, but they did not take that entirely long version. Obviously, it was a shorter version, and there's just that one note he hits, and it bothers me every time. It's like when he's like, I want to walk on by. It's like, I don't know, it comes out of tune, and I just every time, man. I don't know. It's one note to me. It rubs me the wrong way, but something about buttered, and I want to have a hot buttered rum, and it just sounds really,
For me, this record it's a baby of psychedelia that was so prevalent in 1968 and 1969 and soul music. And it is the most spectacularly wonderful combination for my ears. And the fuzz guitar that you get on Walk On By, and it stays around for hyperbolic syllabic sesquidale which fuck off. Reading that song.
You almost got all the way through it, dude.
I know. I almost got all the way through it on the first take.
Dead Presidents, 1996.
Oh, fuck. Really? Oh, tell me that you've seen that movie right now.
No, haven't seen it.
You son of a bitch. Hughes Brothers. God, dude, that movie is
Dead Presidents. It's
fucking dark and wonderful.
Yeah. And the soundtrack is badass.
Banging.
It's
fucking
sweet.
Banging.
Put it on the
that's
list.
where I learned this song.
Wow. Jen Stout, thank you. I want to go back and watch Dead Presidents now, because that movie really does fucking rip. And now I want to figure out where they played this song.
Yeah, they had Keep On Pushing. They had Curtis Mayhall. They had Never Gonna Give You Up. I Got the Feeling, James Brown. I mean, man.
This is a hell of a soundtrack.
That movie's really cool too.
Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. I mean, yeah.
So it's about
everyone put it on Love Train. It's on our list.
About Vietnam vets that come back from the war, and they're pretty fucked up. Some of them are junkies, some of them are not, and they basically decide that they need to pull a bank heist.
Logical. Yeah.
Well,
makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense within the context of the movie, but it's dude. It's really, really good. It's a
good.
really, really great movie. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it.
We all have our weekend plans now.
I know.
Yeah.
Mother's Day 2021.
Dead Presidents. We're watching Dead Presidents.
I love it.
Whether you like it or not. Yeah.
Listen, so did either one of you have exposure to this? And Jen, you just said that you recognize Walk On By, but had you ever listened to this record before?
I had not. And I love the second song with all the words.
Yes.
And that was pretty awesome. But that last one, that Super Rambling, the chord that was playing while he's telling the story, and it was just one chord, and it made me so anxious. And I'm like, please put this to an end. And I get it. I think that's what he's going for, is a very sad, horrible, tense story. But I'm like, ugh.
It's 12 minutes of that. And the bass line is just super slow. It's like, bum, bum, bum.
I know.
For forever, Oh my gosh, look at that, Mike.
This is Gizmo. He just came home yesterday, and now he's on the internet.
Holy cow. Hello, Gizmo.
Gizmo's gonna be famous.
I know. Gizmo's almost as famous as my hairless cat's butthole.
Yeah.
It's clearly
hard to top.
Clearly been on the internet multiple times now. I don't know why.
And that's not just in this.
And we haven't even talked about onlylee.com, which clearly
hasn't come up yet.
Yeah, Poster Nutbag is destined to be on onlylee.com.
Eventually, yeah. I mean, my dog Marley, I think Lee and Marley did a collab recently. Yeah. On onlylee.com.
I said no rodents, nothing with no.
Yeah. Listen, you did all right. You did all right.
Lizards are good.
So, okay, so
no, but I dug it. I dug it. You know, that song is like, God, it was a very long story, and again, maybe uncomfortable, but I think that was on purpose. But the rest of it, I dug it. I put it on Fred and at dinner party the other night.
Yeah. About 10 minutes in, I was like, it would be so fucking funny if he just talked about this song the whole time. And then he was like, and here it is. And then the song just ended. You know? He never sang it.
Well, the crazy part is that, like, if you listen to the Glenn Campbell version of that song, or if you listen to the Jimmy Webb version of that song, I mean, it's like a 2-minute song, right? that Isaac was just like, I really want to cover this song, but I'm going to tell you why these lyrics exist. You know what I mean?
It's like a recipe on the internet. I don't want to tell you why or where it came from or where you bought the butter. Just give me the recipe.
I don't need your fucking life story. Just tell me the recipe exactly. You know. Thank
you, Isaac, and your voice is very sexy. But again,
I do love how he kind of like says the same thing in multiple different ways. Like at the very beginning, he's like,
"True,
this is a deep song. There's a deep meaning to this song. A lot of depth to this song." You know?
So I'm not getting the depth.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. I suppose if there was like foreplay in like that's the whole point of his music, right? It's supposed to be super sexy.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Like we do not start until we get to the happy part of the song. So 12 minutes, that's some pretty good foreplay. Maybe that was his whole plan.
I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of fucking to Isaac Hayes. I mean, there might be a lot of fucking Isaac Hayes, but probably not with this song. Although I will say,
they're all very sad.
Reading the lyrics though to Hyperbolic Syllabistic. Did you read those lyrics?
No, not like not written.
Oh man. Okay, so that's definitely a fucking song, because at one point in time he talks about how her phalanges are working on basically working on his member.
Yeah, there you go.
And I also love the line where he talks about my medulla.
Yeah. I remember that one.
It's completely non sequitur and just really kind of fucked up.
There were some hilarious lyrics in that, like my gastronomical stupensity.
Exactly.
Like, what does that even mean?
And it was shortly after that he started talking about the phalanges.
Yeah,
which phalanges are fingers, right?
MD telling me my heart's on strike.
Yes,
I love that
one. So listen. That could be a fucking song, but Walk On By is not, dude. Like Walk On By it's almost heartbreaking.
Yeah,
and it is really sad.
The tone of it, and that's, I don't know. We were talking about soul earlier, right? Soul versus the blues, and this to me it's such a special, unique brand of soul because you get this insanely psychedelic feel to it with that guitar. And the way that the guitar works with what he's doing on the clav and on the organ. And I love it. I put 5 stars next to Walk On By. I put 4 songs next to Hyperbolic. One Woman was probably like my least favorite, but that's because it almost seems so basic after we got through the first 4.
He has to have one basic song because like every song on this record is like 10 minutes, and then that one is maybe 4 minutes. You know?
Yeah.
That's not
let's forget about it.
Yeah. That song kind of cracked me up because it was like a tender ballad basically about having a side piece.
Yes.
Essentially
that's
what
exactly
that was.
What no, that's exactly what it was, right? Because he was like, God damn, I don't know what to do because I got my one woman, but then I got my side piece, and I just don't even know how I can only have one woman in my life, because that's what the whole fucking song was.
But it's just like a real tender ballad about
explains why I don't like it then.
Yeah.
Understandable.
No, and again, if I'm not understanding the lyrics, then of course I'm like, "Oh, this is sexy," and I'm like, "Oh, it's about breaking up with someone."
I couldn't. The one thing that I texted Mike in the middle of the week, and I was like, "I love this, but I can't stop hearing Chef from South Park."
I was just getting ready to go to the.
Did you know that, Jen?
Oh, I know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Not the biggest fan of South Park. Sorry.
Oh, really?
And I only like a couple lines from Family Guy.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. The Family Guy thing is fair. Yeah.
Family Guy sucks.
But I love South Park.
South Park is the greatest satirical. I think it's the greatest satire that we've seen in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It is.
It's hard. I get
gross stuff. I don't do the gross.
No, and I get that because sometimes they do some shit where I'm just like, fuck, I can't believe they're going here.
Yeah. There's no holds barred.
None. But at the same time, like that to me is the no holds barred approach is the prerequisite to the moniker of the greatest satire that we've seen.
Seriously, yeah, you can't hold back
2 or 3 decades.
I agree with you. Yeah,
if you're really doing satire, you've got to fucking go all in.
There's some truly like intelligent, sophisticated satire going on in a lot of that too. Like some of it's not. Let's be clear, yes. but a lot of it actually is.
Yeah.
But that was the thing. Is a lot of the time I just kind of was listening to this record. All of a sudden I was laughing. I was like, wait, why am I laughing? He didn't sing a funny lyric. It's like just that. I associate his voice. Kids. His voice just crashing out. It's like, yeah, I was conditioned to just laugh when I hear Isaac Hayes' voice.
Oh, poor chef.
Yeah. That being said,
at least James Earl Jones got to be a badass.
That's true. Yeah.
I know. At least he was an evil fucking Dark Lord. Poor chef. He just got to fucking sing about chocolate salty balls.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys ever see Community? It's super funny, but there was this line about, he was the black guy. He's like, I've gotten really good at encouraging white people. Man, that is the funniest thing. He goes, white people are super insecure, so you just go and encourage that white man. It's really awful. We live in a really awful world. Anyway, I brought it all down because, it's a sad album.
Where do you like? What do you think?
Oh, what about this one in terms of the list?
Yeah.
I did add it to digital, and I'm totally cool with it being on the list.
You added it to vinyl too, you fuck.
Yes, I was about to say that. I was about to say Mike was kind enough to surprise me by sending this to me on vinyl.
I sent JB the vinyl because I felt so compelled that JB has to own this record on vinyl that I was like, fuck it, I'll buy it for him because he might not want to buy it.
No, I'm glad you did because it needed to be in the collection. So thank you, Mike.
No, you're welcome.
I'm inspired to pour a hot buttered rum next winter and listen to it.
Oh, you should. Dude, walk on by in hypersyllabolic like while you're drinking hot buttered rum. Come on.
Yeah, see?
Money. It's money in the bank.
That needs to be in the plans.
What do you think
you're
about
sending me wine next time?
Yes, absolutely. The next time that you're on, I'll send you whatever a bottle of that we're drinking.
Perfect.
We'll have to coordinate that. But,
exactly.
Probably California wine.
That's fine. What do you think about the placement of this thing? I mean, do you want it on the list?
Yeah, I think I want it on the list, and I think it's in a good spot for sure. I mean, I don't want it lower for sure. You could say it'd be a little higher, and I wouldn't be upset about that at all. But I think it's definitely no lower than this.
Plus or minus 10.
Yeah, sure. How about you?
I'm there too.
Yeah,
because I really, really love this record, but especially the criticism for by the time I get to Phoenix, that shit's real, right? Because I mean, that could have been a 10-minute jam and just as impactful.
Yeah. I like that one though. That was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. And listen, I like it too, but a story doesn't have to be that long for it to carry impact.
It's like half the record.
It is. I mean, out of a 46-minute record, it is 19 minutes of it. So I understand the criticism, and I'm okay with it. But at the same time, when this record works, and it works so well, fuck, it's so good. And it's also groundbreaking in what he was doing by combining soul with psychedelia in the way that he was doing it.
And that's exactly what it is. You kind of texted me that earlier. You said it's psychedelic soul.
Yeah.
And I was listening to that with that in mind, and you're exactly right. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it belongs.
Yeah, absolutely belongs for me too. And like I say, plus or minus 10. And I'm good with it. You know what I mean? I don't want to see this in the top 250 because I don't necessarily think it belongs I don't think it deserves that type of praise. But I was so thrilled to have this brought back in front of my face.
I'm thrilled to be introduced to it.
Yeah, because without this list, I don't know that it would have been thrown back up in front of me.
Yeah.
Jen, what do you think?
For the vinyl.
Yeah.
Well, and you told me it's one of your absolute favorites, and so of course I've always listened. Right? I've always taken your word to heart. And I did. I did try it both ways. I tried it the, smoky, and I tried it the just chilling and listening while I was working.
Yeah,
So
no, listen,
it works in both ways.
It does. It does. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, what did Rex Todd have to say?
Yes.
And I'm going to step away while you read Rex because you're up next, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
And so I might have to dash as well. So let's get the last Rex and then I'm going to say my goodbyes.
Okay. Sounds good. Rex on Hot Buttered Soul. Hot Buttered Soul? Question mark? No. Hot Buttered Jams. Fantastic instrumental arrangement and sounds with free-flowing guitar, organ, and brass solos with a butter sauce dripping off the amount of soul that Isaac Hayes put into this album. 4 tracks and 45 minutes into this monolith of ornate melodies and tasty jams. I wasn't sure about this one, and I'm glad I was wrong. So that was what Rex had to say. Thanks, Rex, for tuning in. So you're going to take off, Jen?
I do. It's 8:40. Yikes. And a school night. So,
yeah, totally understandable. Well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you coming on.
This has been an absolute blast, and I sincerely hope you'll have me back.
We would love to have you back. So, look through the list and kind of let us know if any of the records.
I'm not allowed. Mike said it's a surprise.
If you're playing along, then yeah, you're not allowed to. That's true. We do have some people kind of looking ahead and deciding which ones they want to be a part of. So feel free to, if you want to cheat. We won't tell anybody.
I'll plan ahead. Ahead, and I'll just tell you there's something coming up.
Uh-oh. Okay. Here, Mike's coming back. Let him say goodbye to you real quick.
I will. Okay, Mike, I won't cheat anymore, but I will tell you that there's something here and there that I would absolutely love to participate in, if you'll have me.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sticking around. Like, I know, literally I'm dealing with, I'm dealing with the kiddo thing myself. And so, yeah, go and be a mom. And thank you so much for hanging out with us for as long as you did. And next time we'll try and we'll figure out a time, we'll figure out a time where
we'll figure out a better time.
Yeah.
And I make it work. I'm very, what's the word? I don't know, resilient I am, but the other word I can figure it out.
Yeah. You're amiable. You're flexible. You're workable.
Yes. I'll make it happen. So where there's a will, there's a way.
At that point, we'll probably just fly you out here on the corporate account.
Exactly. So, yeah. We'll just use all the points that we have saved up, and you'll just have to come out, and we'll do it all in person. It'll be fun.
There you go.
Well, my plan, right, is that Iowa is one of the 7 states I have not seen yet. And
knock it off the list.
That's what I'm talking about.
My plan is I need to, so I have 7 more ballparks, 4. I only have 4 left. And so I want to do Kansas City, pop up to Des Moines and Field of Dreams, and then go down to St. Louis, knock it all out.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
Or just come hang out with y'all.
Coinciding.
Thank you so much.
It'll be beautiful. Thank you, Jen.
Thanks, Jen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. So Rex Todd loved this, right?
Yes, he did love it. Let me kind of revisit his email real quick. It was short and sweet, his thoughts on it, but he just really enjoyed the instrumental arrangements, the free-flowing guitar. He said butter sauce dripping off the amount of soul that Isaac Hayes put into this album.
Nice.
So, yeah, he was a big fan.
Awesome.
He says he wasn't sure about it, but he's glad he was wrong.
Good.
So
good. I'm so glad you fucking loved it, Rex. All right.
Should we dive into 372, Mike?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Big Brother and the Holden Company, Cheap Thrills, 1968. After Big Brother's performance at the Monterey Pop Festival made Janis Joplin a star, fans were heatedly expecting a live album from them. But their in-the-red loudness and sloppy performances meant they had to cut their second album in a New York studio with crowd noise added in later. We're just a sloppy group of street freaks, Joplin said, but the San Francisco Acid Rockers were the most simpatico band she ever had, especially when their raw racket backs Joplin up on Piece of My Heart, perhaps her greatest recording. We should have had my dad on this week because my dad was at Monterey Pop Festival.
What?
Yeah. He saw Jimi Hendrix there. And that was like the year that Jimi Hendrix burned his guitar.
Yeah.
My dad saw the day show. Jimi Hendrix did that at the night show.
At the night show.
Yeah. So I didn't see that part, but he saw him play there.
What the fuck, dude? How old was your dad?
My dad is 64. How was he at that point? So I guess we can do the math.
Damn, dude.
He was.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous, man. I did not realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Fucking baller.
I know.
So did he see Big Brother in the holding company? Did he see that set that they were just referencing?
I'm not 100% sure. I should have asked him. I didn't look ahead. I didn't even realize that they were referencing the Monterey Pop performance from Big Brother. So,
well, it's funny because when I was listening to this, you know, when you listen to the record, it kind of sounds like a live recording, right?
But kind of like you can kind of tell that they manufactured it at the same time.
Absolutely. I mean, they did a good job of the manufacture, because if you weren't paying attention, you'd be like, oh, is this live?
What was the other record that was manufactured live?
Fuck, dude. I knew you were going to.
There was one other fucking one, and it's driving me crazy. Oh, it was James Brown.
Oh, yeah. Sex Machine.
I feel like that was manufactured better, maybe.
You think so?
I feel like I could tell more on this one. Or maybe I'm just seasoned at this point after having listened to that.
You're jaded.
I'm an expert. Yeah.
You're a jaded bullshitter.
Yeah.
This record I'm very familiar with. I already own it on vinyl. And
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I bought a vintage copy of this too, which is really, really cool. And yeah, I've been a huge fan of Janis Joplin, but particularly this record. Combination of the two is such a fucking monster. Summertime is beautiful. Piece of My Heart is, as they said, it might be one of her best recordings.
Probably my favorite of hers.
Yeah, me and come on, Bobby McGee.
Yeah, that's gonna
me and
be
Bobby
McGee
second. Is like a close second for me, but this recording on Piece of My Heart is spectacular. Combination of the two, though, like I feel like combination of the two is so underappreciated, maybe. But there's
what did you like about that one?
Oh fuck, dude. I love the feel of it. Like I love that guitar tone. I love at the beginning, there's that fucking percussion, that on that percussion instrument. And then when the guitar kicks in, that fucking howl that he lets out, that
it's frantic.
I fucking love it, man. And then when it finally breaks down into the kind of call and response between her and him, I absolutely adore it.
So the thing that I liked most about that was just kind of what you said. It was like the feel of it. It felt really, really good. It just felt like straight up 60s rock. And it felt like it'd be super, super fucking fun to see that live.
Yes.
But beyond that, I hate to, it kind of felt like a intro, like intentionally, and it was kind of lacking substance to me. Like I was trying to think, what actually is this song? And most of the time it's just like build-ups. There's not a whole lot of lyrics. Most of the lyrics are like, ooh, ooh, or like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I was like, there's not really like a real discernible melody going on here.
Yeah,
it's
there's
just
not.
It just kind of seems like it was made for people to party to, which is cool. So
and
if that's what it is, then I'm happy that's what it is. But I was trying to figure it out. I was like, what even is this song? Is it a live intro?
I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Like to me, it feels like a crowd hyper.
Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like to me. Yeah.
So it's like, we're going to come out, we're going to we're going to blast this shit from the jump. And it's just going to be to get everybody into the mood, because it's a mood setter.
Well, it works for sure. And if that's the purpose, then I'm with it, So,
well, it definitely doesn't have any deep meaning about the nature of life.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I mean, Summertime was really cool. That was that song's been covered so many times.
I know.
Vibrato on that really stuck out to me.
I love what she does with it, though. God damn it.
Voice.
I mean, I really, really love what she does with it on there.
Do you love her just pretty much endlessly? Are you ever not a fan of Janis?
Dude, no. I mean, not really. No, I mean, yeah, pretty much everything she does.
Because I'm the exact same way.
I mean, I'll take it.
And I've also met some people though who are not fans, and they say that she comes across as abrasive and just too much and whatever, too much rasp. And so I was listening and I was like, I can actually kind of understand it a little bit how you might feel that way. Not you, but someone might feel that way. I don't feel that way at all. but like just like I love it. I love everything she does.
Dude,
but I can understand because it's super raw.
She's raw as fuck, man.
It's aggressive. You know what I mean?
It's aggressively raw.
Yeah.
But I think about the time that she was recording all this. I think about, I mean, come on, like she's a woman in rock.
Yeah. She's amazing, dude.
I mean, amongst her foil is Grace Slick, right? Who Grace Slick is not raw. You know, Grace Slick has so much polish to her voice, like so much control
comparison
in what she does relative. But that's why I think that we've seen Jefferson Airplane at 460 and why we're getting Janice at 372.
Do you think this is the only Janice?
Fuck no. Pearl.
It has to be, right?
Pearl has to be on this list.
Has to be higher. Like that was my thinking, but
Pearl has to be on this list.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Pearl is going to be significantly higher, right? So in other words, if we see Pearl in the next 72, I would say, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that there's a lot of pushback to what she was doing, because like there's a lot of people that think she's too abrasive. This isn't my thing. And I don't necessarily like it. Yeah.
And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because that is a viewpoint that is out there. And I want to be clear. That's not me at all. I couldn't be anywhere close to that. But I just feel like it's like you said, it's prevalent enough that it was worth kind of pointing out, you know?
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So interestingly enough, did you notice that on the re-release of this, they went ahead and completely fucked up the order on this?
No.
Because the original order of this has Oh Sweet Mary prior to Ball and Chain. And
that's the one I listened to had Oh Sweet Mary before Ball and Chain.
Okay, so Apple, fuck you, Apple. Apple went ahead and fucking reversed those orders, which is really fucked up, because if you put Ball and Chain before Oh Sweet Mary at the end of Ball and Chain, they're basically like, all right, so stick around because this weekend we're going to have some other really great acts playing at the venue. Because it was meant to be the end of the show. And that was the end of the original LP. Like if I pull out my vinyl off that shelf, the very last track on the vinyl is Ball and Chain.
And Ball and Chain was the only actual live track.
Was it? I didn't think that any of them were actually.
Ball and Chain is from the Wonderland. That's a live recording.
It is a live recording from Wonderland. Okay.
And then on the re-release there were two bonus tracks, Roadblock and then Flower in the Sun, and then there were two actual live tracks that were recorded. You Catch Me Daddy,
Catch Me Daddy, and Magic of Love.
And those were both in like Michigan or something like that.
Yeah.
And at the end of one of those is the one where the guy's like, there's a guy that's like, we have all these acts coming up next week. Did you hear that?
Yes. I want to say that was at the end of Magic of Love, where he's going through almost like a who's who of shit that's coming through.
And it was super cool. It was like, dude, this was recorded in 68 or whatever. I mean, the bands that he's listening, he's like, next week we got this English band called The Who.
The Who.
And it's like, hopefully they're going to be good.
Hopefully they'll be okay.
And he's like, we got Grateful Dead coming next week. Yes. And who else did he say? There was one other big one.
There was one other big one that I don't remember
what it was, but yeah, it was awesome. Whatever it was.
And again, I don't care if you talk about the original release, which ends with Ball and Chain, or if you talk about the expanded. Every single song on here, I gave. I guess on the expanded edition, I gave everything from the expanded, which I'm going to call from Roadblock through Magic of Love. I gave all those songs 2 stars. I thought they were fantastic. Everything on the OG recording, though, I mean, I gave 3 stars to every single thing, with the exception of Piece of My Heart, which is clearly a fucking just a all-time banger, and a combination of the two. Because I put 4 stars next to combination of the two. I really fucking love that track, dude.
I put 5 stars next to Piece of My Heart.
I did too.
Yeah. Piece of My Heart is one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite recordings of all time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
amazing.
It's so fucking timeless. I mean, it's timeless in every way, shape, or form.
And it really shows off her dynamic range, you know, from the beginning, where she's just like fucking going crazy with the hold on. And then it's right to did not make you feel. And she's just like so quiet and
she just drops it down. Like she drops it. She leaves all of that emotion that she's hitting in that chorus, and she's just like, no, like I'm actually
like you were the only man. God, I love that shit, dude.
But the harmony on that too, right? Like the harmony of the chorus for the because that's where you get the male vocalist in there as well. Like that's the guitar player that's singing harmony with her, and that's the interplay that you get in combination of the two.
And speaking of the male vocal, that was my only complaint against "Oh Sweet Mary," which is kind of petty, but I was like, okay, if you have Janis Joplin in your band, why would you ever have somebody else sing lead on any song ever? I mean, let's be real here. It's Janis fucking Joplin.
No, I get you. But did you notice that on that song? So that's the only song on the album where the lead guitarist actually played bass on that song, and the bass player, or the traditional bass player on all the other tracks, played lead guitar.
I did not know that. No.
Yes. Which, when the fuck does that happen? Besides, how about never?
Yeah.
Like the lead guitar player is like,
so there was,
yo, bro, I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the bass.
I gotta play the bass on this one. Yeah. But on that one, if you're listening to headphones, pan to the right, there's this really quiet instrument that sounds like a sitar, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I don't know if it's a sitar. There was no sitar listed on the personnel.
Yeah, there was no personnel listing of really any bizarre instrumentation.
So listen back to it, because I couldn't figure it out. It was like pan to the right. It was really faint. It was not as loud as the rest of the music, but it was there for sure. And it was like kept repeating the same little line. It was like really twangy, but kind of psychedelic, like a sitar.
All right. Yeah, I'll go back and I'll listen to that, because I am kind of curious about it, because they didn't list it, and normally
they would list that.
Yeah, normally the liner notes or Wikipedia is pretty good about listing like any of those really bizarre instrumentation. So
maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I have a terrible ear. I don't know. Listen to what you think.
Obviously,
yeah. So you're keeping it on the list.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm probably moving it up. I wouldn't be upset if this album fell at least 25 notches higher. Like between 350 and 300, I would be probably a little bit happier, because I really love this record.
Yeah, I'm not against that at all.
I don't necessarily want to see it north of 300. I don't think it belongs north of 300. But man, if you put this thing at 330, 340, I could definitely get down with that. I could see some love there for her.
I think anywhere between 300 and 400, I'm happy, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And I don't want to move down by any means.
No, there's no fucking way that I move it down.
Yeah.
There's no way that I move it down. And I really, really dig it.
Can you read Rex's thoughts and then the next album? And I'm going to run to the restroom. Be right back.
Absolutely. All right. So Mr. Rex Todd for Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company, he says, okay, now I'm beginning to be glad I started on this musical reconnaissance with you guys. Another musician that was taken too soon from our ears and hearts, which, we were talking about Robert Johnson being like the OG member of the 27 Club. Of course, JB has stepped away, but Janis Joplin was only 27 when she died as well. Pretty much died from complications from alcoholism. She was a big fan of Southern Comfort, from everything that I've read. And so, yeah, absolutely. Taken too soon from ears and hearts. Rex goes on to say, this album is full of psychedelia and soul. Joplin's powerhouse vocals and the jam band solos just scorched this record to dust. This is an auditory ayahuasca journey full of compulsory psilocybin. Jesus, Rex Todd, killing me. This is the kind of music I wanted to hear when Nuggets appeared on this list. Fucking thank you, Rex. Add this to everything: digital, CD, cassette, 8-track, vinyl, hieroglyphics. Hell, put it on your kitchen cabinets. Fucking love it. Completely agree with him. And it's funny that Rex, that you mentioned in your notes about Nuggets, because I agree. Like when that fucking Nuggets record came up, I too expected to hear something along these lines from that type of recording, but instead we just got fucking nonsense. We got bullshit that I don't think belonged anywhere on this list. So thank you, Rex. Banging comments, and I agree with everything that you're saying there. So moving on, the last record that we're going to talk about this week, number 371 from 1973, the anthology of the Temptations. And I shouldn't even say that. This album is entitled Anthology, and it's a collection of songs from the Temptations originally compiled in 1973. So Rolling Stone says, indisputably the greatest black vocal group of the modern era, the Temptations embodied Motown, channeling unique individual voices and talents into pristine hits and tight tuxedoed choreography. This 3-album set features masterpiece after masterpiece of chugging gospel-tinged soul, including My Girl, I Can't Get Next to You, and I Wish It Would Rain, and later psychedelic soul adventures like Cloud 9 and the gritty message song masterpiece Ball of Confusion. So I don't disagree with what they wrote in that description. What I do disagree with is this 3-album masterpiece features, or this 3-album set features masterpiece after masterpiece. Fuck off. Like, they go on to mention all of the songs that I agree with. My Girl, I Can't Get Next to You, I Wish It Would Rain, Ball of Confusion. All of those are indeed fucking masterpieces, but fuck me, dude. Like,
you think maybe they listed all the masterpieces right there?
Yeah. I mean, listen, when I'm just going to go down the top of this list, and I'm going to start off by saying, I love the Temptations. I really do. Like, when they work, fuck, they work. They work, man. They work so well. The way you do the things you do, My Girl. Get ready, because here I come. I Know I'm Losing You, Baby. I Wish It Would Rain. Cloud 9. Psychedelic Shack. Ball of Confusion. This Is What the World Is Today. I'm Gonna Make You Love Me. Just My Imagination Running Away with Me. Papa Was a Rolling Stone. Right there. That's like a super concise. What do I have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 songs. Put those 11 songs together. You get everything from like classic Motown sound of the way you do the things you do, My Girl.
Yeah.
You get the psychedelic soul of Psychedelic Shack, Ball of Confusion, which fucking Ball of Confusion is crazy fucking good.
That's one of the best.
It's insane. Cloud 9 is really kind of the beginning of that, but you also get that middle ground of I Wish It Would Rain.
Yeah.
And then you're ending up in Papa Was a Rolling Stone, right? And Just My Imagination Running Away with Me, and I'm Gonna Make You Love Me with the Supremes. You get everything that you could possibly want, but you would get basically like a 30-minute record where you say, God damn, the Temptations were unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they did so many things so well.
But that wasn't an album.
No,
So
it wasn't. What we got instead was fucking 2 hours, and I don't even know how many songs. I didn't fucking count them. I don't know if you did.
37.
37 songs of all of that, right? Because for every song that I just listed there, the Temptations did 6 other songs.
That's the thing, and that's kind of what I talked about with Mike before the show, is that this anthology is kind of segmented. As you go through it, it's kind of broken up. The first third or more is pretty much straight up Motown. You know, basically you can sum up the first third of the album by saying My Girl. You know what I mean? Like, My Girl is definitely
or Just My
best.
Imagination Running Away from Me.
Or Just My Imagination Running Away from Me. But like they're all just that, you know, and that's even like Please Return Your Love to Me. It's a great song. So I could argue that there were a couple songs that I want to hear. Like I really like Get Ready. I really like Ain't Too Hard to Beg, or Ain't Too Proud to Beg. I like Please Return Your Love to Me. But the first third can be summed up effectively by My Girl, in my opinion. And then the middle third can be summed up by some funk tune. They're all pretty similar. And I loved most of them because they're all super dirty funk, you know, but probably probably Ball of Confusion, although I'd probably add Cloud 9 in there as well.
Cloud 9, yeah. Cloud 9 is the start of that. Ball of Confusion is like, that's where you're getting into like psychedelia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And then the latter half, or the latter third, I mean, is like, I don't even know what would you call it, because it's super orchestral. There's a lot of like really heavy orchestral led songs on there. It's like soul, but it's not exactly the same as the first. It's not like as happy and joyous as the first third.
It's a really it's a very mature version of soul where they're able to selectively dip out of all of the previous avenues that they went down, right? Like the detours that they had taken in the past, they were able to selectively kind of pull from each one of those detours and make a really, really mature type of sound.
Mature is a good way to put it. I like that, because that's kind of what I was looking for, was a way to describe that, and that kind of sums it up. I'm Gonna Make You Love Me is kind of a little diversion from that. It's pretty much just a pop song, but it's a fantastic pop song.
It is, and it was also recorded a lot earlier, right? This album was compiled in 1973. I'm pretty sure I'm Gonna Make You Love Me was from the mid 60s.
So weird placement on the record with that specific song.
Because realistically, that song probably, if you're gonna do this chronologically, that absolutely should have appeared before Cloud 9.
Probably, yeah.
You know, just in terms of order, probably somewhere before even I Wish It Would Rain, because I Wish It Would Rain is really post traditional Motown type of song, you know?
Yeah.
And that's really where that thing fit. But did you notice that, to me, I looked at all of the tracks that I kind of read as like massive, massive bangers. And the biggest track that I like, the ones that I was reading as like the biggest kind of classic bangers were all Smokey Robinson produced. Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Smokey produced.
I almost thought it was him fucking singing at first. I was like, that sounds exactly like Smokey Robinson. The high voice guy.
The high voice guy.
And speaking of, if we're gonna throw out accolades to the voices, the bass voice. Don't you love it? You love it as much as I do, Mike?
I mean, I'm okay with it, but what the fuck was that song? Dude, what's that song where it was literally like the bass solo voice?
Oh,
which one was that?
I actually wrote it down, so it might take me a little bit, because like I said, there's 37 songs to read through here.
And I'm doing the same thing, because I literally wrote, I was like, all right, it's cool that you're giving the fucking bass guy like his own song, but fuck you.
Fuck you.
I wish I could fucking find this. God,
it wasn't Ball of Confusion.
No, fuck no. No, god damn it. What the fuck was it? Dude. Oh wait.
I can't find it.
No, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dig anymore.
It doesn't matter.
There was literally one track though where they were literally like,
oh, it was I Truly, Truly Believe.
That sounds right.
It was definitely that. Yep. Bass vocal was leading that one. What'd you write down about that one? That was track 18.
Thank you. I gotta fucking find it. Okay. Totally different lead from the bass of the group. Wish this would have been. I wish this would have been edited. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't my favorite thing.
I actually, I really enjoyed the bass vocal. I thought it was funny, but in a good way. I liked on Runaway Child, Running Wild. It's basically a song about a kid running away from his parents and realizing that it was a huge fucking mistake. and the bass guy was like, "You getting kind of hungry and you forgot to bring something to eat?" You know? I love that, dude. So funny. And it's supposed to be funny. Like they know the effect that bass vocal
that bass vocal
you know?
has. Yeah. That poor fucking bastard. They're just like, all right, man, you want me to go ahead and hit it? I'll do it right now.
He's like, it's gonna be, $1,000 a recording, but I'll do whatever you want,
Dude, but that guy, I mean, seriously, that range on his voice it's fucking bonkers.
He's legit, dude. He's a good singer for sure. They're all good. And one of the things that I liked a lot, especially in the funk songs, what technique they used a lot was this passing around of the vocals.
Yeah.
Where they were like, it was always during a verse. And they would like I said, they would just pass them around. The soprano guy would sing one, and the alto guy would sing one, and then it would go to the bass guy, and they would just kind of sing little lines that went back and forth, kind of call and response style, that with more than one person. You know?
Absolutely. And I mean, listen, this record's really good. All right. It's too long. We've talked so much about the greatest hits versus the anthologies and all this stuff. And this is painful for me, because as much as I love the Temptations, I wish that they would have boiled this down to an essence. Like I said, I think you can pick this down to probably 12 or 13 tracks and get a way more compelling recording. But all that being said, the Temptations need to be celebrated. I'm glad that they're on the list.
This has to be their only record on the list, right? If they did this, there's no way they have an actual
There's absolutely
release.
no way.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way. Like, this is what we're going to get from the Temptations outside of features, which we've already seen on the Diana Ross and the Supremes anthology. So with that being said, what do you think about, I did not add this to digital. I suppose if I'm not going to buy this vinyl either. If I could find a more concise collection of hits from the Temptations, I would definitely buy the Temptations on vinyl, but I'm not going to buy a 3-platter like this.
Just because I don't know if I would play it a lot. I mean, that's like, I'm gonna have to flip it like a few times, Yeah. And that's a lot of time to invest in playing the Temptations on vinyl. So yeah, I'm kind of there with you.
Where do you like it on the list though? I mean, you're gonna move it up, you're gonna move it down, you're gonna keep it, toss it. We gotta keep it, right?
I'm gonna keep it. And honestly, like, this is probably gonna be boring response, because I've kind of said the same thing about several others this week. There's only really one I really felt strongly about. The rest of them, like, I think they're pretty well placed. I mean, I hate to say it, but this portion, maybe this tiny little fucking portion of the list, doesn't suck. The rest is garbage, dog shit. The rest sucks, but maybe this one little section doesn't.
I appreciate you trying to throw a bone to Rolling Stone, but I'm gonna move this down, because I would like to see this closer to Diana Ross and the Supremes. In fact, I would probably, they should be within 10 spots of each other. And I wouldn't be upset if Diana Ross and the Supremes was actually above the Temptations, because
I was wondering if you were going to say that.
I feel like when Diana Ross and the Supremes go out on a limb, when they really get into like their funky, social commentary that they were doing kind of later in their career, I thought it was more impactful. I thought it was more creative. And I love Ball of Confusion. Ball of Confusion is a fucking great song. But Soul Child is a fucking way better song, in my opinion. And they were tackling far more challenging issues, I think, because they were women talking about women's issues at a time where women were still absolutely viewed as second-class citizens, especially in the music world. So for me, I want to move it back. I want to move the Supremes in front. I want to keep them within, like I say, within about 5 or 10 lengths of each other, because I do think that it's important to represent it. It's important to talk about it, but like, let's save this spot for something that's more deserving, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. You kind of convinced me, actually, with your spiel.
Boom.
Yeah.
It's my persuasive speaking abilities. All right, listen, we've been running on this. I want to thank Jen Stout again.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. Thanks for joining us. She wants to come back, and we'll certainly have her back.
Absolutely. In fact, I almost feel like whenever American Idiot comes up, like that should be.
So that's coming up, you think? Is that the only other one?
Yes, it's the only. What are you gonna fucking put on there? Fucking Brain Stew or whatever that shit is.
That's a song, not a record.
Fuck off.
Okay.
Whatever. American Idiot is going to be coming up, but I think it's going to be a while before we get to American Idiot.
I think that albums number 3, 2, and 1 on this list are Trace dos, and uno. Most likely. That was sarcasm. That's not happening.
I do listen. I do think we catch American Idiot. I'm gonna predict between 250 and 200. Maybe.
I would be fucking stoked because that album came out when I was that age that I was talking about when I was like 8th grade, and I was listening to Dookie. I got into Dookie after American Idiot. American Idiot probably came out when I was in the 7th grade, and it was my favorite thing.
It's an amazing record.
Yeah.
It's a fucking punk pop concept album.
Yeah.
Just because of its very nature of it's the only one that exists and they did it so well.
It's so well done.
I think that's why I do think it's going to get love. Like, I really hope so.
I hope
it
so
has to be on the fucking list. The question is just how high is it going to be?
I'd be stoked too.
In my mind. So yeah, we'll absolutely have Jen back on. Hopefully for that one.
And again, apologies guys on the timing of this. Justin Handel did comment on YouTube and said, wait, isn't it Monday? What the damn hell is going on?
So sorry, Justin.
Sorry, Justin.
Thanks for checking us out though. Glad that you found us. We are going to be back to the normal. We are going to be back on Friday this week. So it's going to be a short week for us. We've already started prepping for the next 5. Both of us have. And it's kind of a weird week because I don't know that we've ever had a week with this much fucking hip hop thrown into it. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's like 3 out of 5.
Yeah. Like super, super heavy in hip hop. And then what's not hip hop is like fucking curveballs relative to the hip hop that's on here.
Definitely. And in terms of the hip hop, there's some good and there's some bad. Preview.
All right. So next, in just a couple of days, in 4 days from now on Friday night, we're going to be talking about number 370 from 2005, The Cotta 2 from Lil Wayne.
369 is Mobb Deep, the infamous.
From 1970, 368, George Harrison's album, All Things Must Pass.
That's a fucking banger.
Fucking beautiful, man.
Yep. 367, Drake. If you're reading this, it's too late.
So it's already too late?
Should we just skip that one?
Do I have to listen to it?
I think we can just talk about it without listening to it.
If I'm listening to this, it's already too late.
So we don't have to,
JD and I, we've talked about this. Like, if you've listened to the show, you know we both fucking hate Drake. And I've already told you this. I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to listen to that record once. I'm going to take notes on it once. I'm not fucking listening to it.
How long is it? Do you know?
For too long.
If it's fucking 1 minute, it's too long, dude.
That's my point.
There are 2 Southern hip hop records on this week.
All right. So,
and then 366 is Aerosmith Rocks,
which that's a great fucking album.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that one too.
So Aerosmith and George Harrison, kind of rando.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to talk about that in the context of Lil Wayne, Mobb Deep,
Drizzy,
Drake,
Drizzy. Fuck you, Drizzy.
Yep, exactly. And I'm looking ahead at the next week already. I shouldn't be, but I'm not going to say anything. But it looks really fucking good.
Do you want to talk about that too? I mean, we can talk about that too. Well, we can talk about that from the context of we do have a special guest coming up for that.
We do have a special guest. Yep. So coming up for 365 through 361, which is the week after next, is Mr. Bryce Wagner, who I do play in a band with.
Pale Blue Earth.
Yep. And he plays bass. He's fantastic.
Band. Yeah. Fantastic bass player. Like, that's a wonderful band to begin with. But
thank you, Mike.
Dude, Bryce is a fucking revelation to listen to. So that'll be a lot of fun to have him on.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm excited for you guys to finally meet because he feels like he knows you, as do so many people. Like, that's the thing is like, and a lot of people that listen to the podcast, they just kind of feel like they get to know either one of us.
Well, and I have met Bryce before because I have been to a Pale Blue Earth show.
Probably very briefly though, right?
Very briefly.
Yeah.
I think he may have given me a cigarette.
Probably did. Yeah.
Something like that.
Sounds like him. He's a nice guy.
He's a wonderful guy. And I'm super excited about that. We will wait. We'll wait until Friday to preview that. But there's some ripping shit coming up.
There really is.
Really good stuff. So with all that being said, thanks for tuning in. If you did tune in on a Monday, thank you, Justin.
Thanks, Justin.
And we'll be back in just a few short days to talk about some more records and some more shitty lists.
Indeed. We'll see you guys next week. This week. We'll see you on
this
Friday.
week. Yeah, we'll see you in a couple days.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Happy Tuesday.